This is a Savage 110 action fitted with a Brooks 45 caliber 1 in 20 twist barrel, which is about 29 inches long. Last year I had a customer who asked me to put together a smokeless muzzle loader for him based on a design that a gunsmith in Kentucky came up with. Jeff Hankins had developed a smokeless muzzle loader. It seemed to be extremely accurate, extremely efficient. So this year I decided to build one for myself, and I decided to build a breech plug that was similar to the Hankins design, but was just a little bit different. If you look right here, you'll see that the breech plug has a little hole in it, and that's part of the secret to this design. This one is threaded 5/8 by 18 thread, and inside here there is a modified Savage vent screw. The head's been ground down so it'll go in this .275 diameter hole. But the secret to this one seems to be this. This is a module that I came up with, kind of a similar idea. But again, the secret to this whole thing seems to be this 1/4 inch tube. This brass module holds a standard long rifle Magnum primer that you can find at most gun shops, sell reloading supplies. But this little nipple sticks down in this hole in this breech plug like that. And this one is supported on the sides because it's kind of recessed there. So that little 1/4 inch tube seals up the gases and also kind of acts like a funnel to direct the heat and the pressure from the large rifle Magnum primer down in your powder charge. So on this side you'd have your 70 or so grains of IMR 4198. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But the way you install this breech plug, the shoulder of this plug has been turned down so that the diameter right about here in this area is about .695, so it will actually go into the bolt raceway of a Savage 110 or a Remington Model 700 action. And this barrel has been threaded to accept that same thread. I'm going to just take a long socket. This is a standard 9/16 socket, but it's been turned down some, so it'll go in this raceway. I just ground it down on a grinder. So we're going to install our breech plug in the barrel. And we're going to put our ratchet on there, just snug it up a little bit. We want it tight. It's got to be turned up against the shoulder so our head space will be correct. Okay, that's it. Okay, now our bolt goes in just like it would in a normal rifle. I'm going to demonstrate this thing for you. You put your primer in there, and this gun is not loaded. Of course, we got it pointed in a safe direction. So we got this little brass primer module, and we're going to load that into our bolt, and we're going to use our bolt to push that up into the action rifle. Okay, so this rifle would, if we had it, and I would not normally prime it with a live primer until I got my powder charge in there and my bullet. I'm going to just fire it for you to let you see it does work. Safety off. Okay, and as you could hear, that was just the large rifle Magnum primer firing. Reset my bolts so I can put it back on safe. The best bullet for this smokeless muzzle loader that I have used anyway has been these Parker 275 grain BE bullets, and with 76 grains of IMR 4198. And of course we're just using the bullet, we're not using a sabot. The sabot's for a 50 caliber rifle. With just a 45 we're just using that. And I've sized these bullets down just a little bit so they barely go in the bore. You want them tight. If they're too loose, the powder won't burn efficiently. But the advantage of these Parker bullets is that they have extremely thin jacket. So when that IMR 4198 goes off, the pressure swells up the base of this bullet to make a good gas seal. When you load this thing, it's just riding down on top of the lens. But whenever that powder goes off, the pressure swells up the base of the bullet and make a good gas seal. So for hunting, I would definitely use these 275 grain Parker bullets. But they're about $2 each. So I had some of these Hornady muzzle loader bullets on hand. These are the 250 grain 45 caliber muzzle loader bullets that Hornady makes. And they're a lot harder to size, but you can size them down if you have the right kind of collet head. And so I've sized these down, and it's a little bit trickier to get them sized right since the jacket's a lot thicker. But I have been able to get over 3,000 feet a second at the muzzle also with these bullets. And since they're only about 60 cents each, then that's a little bit cheaper just to play around with here on the range. This is the ratchet I use to put the breech plug in the rifle. You just put your socket ratchet handle in there, and goes inside there. Just screws in and out just like you would a normal bolt or nut, because it's sized to go through the bolt raceway. Makes it easy. To size the bullets with the smokeless muzzle loader, I came up with a fairly inexpensive option. These collets are available on eBay for not a whole lot of money. I think this one's maybe about $31 shipped to me. This is a CR32 or ER32 machine collet. This one is a 12 millimeter. It has quite a size range. And you can find the collet holders, collet heads like this on eBay for, again, around $30 or so. Might take you a while to get it here. This one came on a slow boat from China. I have another one over here that I've got installed. This is the ER32 collet head with the collet in it, and I turned this one down with the 7/8 by 14 thread so it will fit on this press I already had. This is a 50 BMG press, and so I just made a long rod to go down here on it so I can put my bullet up here on top of this. A little bit of imperial sizing lube on the bullet, and then I can just push it right up through there. And I got a scale here on my collet head, kind of a relative scale. You have to experiment around with it to get your bullet size correctly. But this is what I have been using to size my bullets. Arrowhead LLC sells barrels for these smokeless muzzle loaders, and they also sell sizers that are similar to this, but they're quite a bit more expensive. I think theirs are about $160. So this was a little bit cheaper option for me. Okay, I'm out here shooting the Smokeless Muzzle Loader today with some 275 grain Parker BE bullets. I'm going to load it up and we're going to fire 3 shots at 300 yards. I have a piece of 12 by 12 AR 500 steel at 300 yards. We're going to see what we can do with these bullets. I've already got pre-measured out here 76 grains of IMR 4198 that I measured on my electronic scale. You want to measure it accurately. When you're using a smokeless muzzle loader, you cannot have too much powder. You can get a very dangerous situation with just a little bit too much smokeless powder. So this is exactly 76 grains of IMR 4198. Usually try to tap the rifle a little bit, make sure the powder has gone all the way down the bottom of the breech plug. These Parker bullets have been sized on a collet sizer I've got, where they just are barely snug, just barely go down the bore without any effort really. Very thin skinned bullet. I've made a muzzle protector out of a piece of 30-06 brass here. You want to be real careful with your muzzle on any type of accurate rifle. Make sure it goes all the way to the bottom. You'll notice I got a piece of blue tape here to make sure it goes the same point every time. Now when I load it, I normally use a fired primer module in it, so I'm going to take that out. Here's my fired primer module. I'm going to put in a primer module that's got a fresh Magnum large rifle primer in it. Put in the bolt face. Push it up. I'll make sure it's on safe also. The Savage has got a 3-position safety. It's on safe. Okay, make sure it's on safe. It's ready to fire. Turn on my chronograph. We'll see what kind of velocity we get with 76 grains of IMR 4198, 275 grain Parker BE bullet. Shooting at a steel plate at 300 yards. I've only got a 9-power scope here, so we're stretching our magnification here a little bit. I do have a level on the scope so we can hopefully keep the cant out of the rifle. Let's see what happens. Okay, that was a hit at 300 yards near the center of the target. Chronograph says 29.98. We missed 3,000 feet per second by 2 feet. That's pretty close. I think we can round that one off. Okay, I'm going to leave that fired primer module in there while we reload here. We don't have any real amount of buildup in the bore like you would the normal muzzle loader, so we're just going to go ahead and load it up again. Carefully measured out 76 grains of powder. Again, make sure it goes all the way down in the breech plug. 275 grain Parker BE size for the bore of this rifle. And it's just riding on the tops of the lens right now when we ram it home. but the skin on this bullet is so thin that as soon as that pressure is produced by that burning powder, it's going to swell up. Okay, right place on our tape again so we know we got it down the powder. Put our safety on where we can operate our bolt. So safe, take out our fired primer module, put in a fresh primer module. Okay, so safe, there goes our second shot. Put my chronograph back on. Steel plate, 300 yards. Smokeless muzzle loader. Nine power scope. Well, we got a little faster that time. Hit on the target. Our velocity is 29.99. 1 foot away from 3,000 feet per second. We got a hit on the target. Looks like we're within about 3 inches or so of the center of the target. So far we got maybe a 3-inch group at 300 yards. Okay, still again we have in our fired primer module. Make sure you don't load this thing with a live primer module. That would be a very dangerous situation. .76 grains, IMR 4198. Make sure it goes down. Load our last bullet we're going to fire in this set of 3. 275 grain Parker BE bullet. Size for this Brooks 1 in 20 twist barrel. Goes down just snug. Got our muzzle protector there. Oh, that's a perfect fit. Not too tight, not too loose, just right. Up against our powder charge. Take out our fired primer module. This piece of brass, 1/4 inch tube sticking out of it, about 3/16 of an inch long. Fresh primer module. On safe. Chronograph on, shooting 300 yards with a muzzle loader. Okay, ready to fire. Hey, we got it that time. 3,002 feet per second. Old target swinging. Looks like we have 3 shots at 300 yards within about a 3-inch circle. So we're talking about 1 MOA group at 300 yards. Muzzle loader shooting a 275 grain bullet, a little over 3,000 feet a second that time. Okay, here we are at 300 yards. We got a 12-inch by 12-inch steel plate, and as you can see, we've got 3 shots within I'm gonna say maybe 3 inches, maybe 3.5 inches at 300 yards. We got a little bit of wind today, not bad though. I'll take it for a smokeless muzzle loader that shoots a 275 grain bullet right at 3,000 feet per second.